Hey y'all, welcome or welcome back to Chocolate Covered Pages. I'm Kiona, and in this video, if you are not new here, you will see that I'm in an entirely different setup right now. I am on vacation. I'm in Thailand right now, specifically Bangkok, Thailand. I'm having the time of my life. But my husband went to go to the gym, so I was like, you know what, this is a great time to film a video. And this video is just going to be specifically about some books that I have read this year that I really enjoyed, and I think that you guys will as well. So let's get into it. So I'm not even gonna lie to y'all, like since this new year began, I have been super busy, which is why, you know, I haven't been able to put out as many videos as I would have liked, because I was taking a course for a certification that I'm trying to get, and that literally was taking up so much of my time. But we're back. Okay, we are back. It's over. Thank goodness. And yeah, so I did not read as many books as I typically would have read per month. We're not even going to talk about the per month number. We're just going to say that in this first quarter, like from January to April 1st, I literally only read like 8 books. And in April, I probably read like maybe a couple, maybe 2 to 3. I don't know. But I'm hoping that this month, May, I'm hoping that I could read a lot more since I will have a little bit more time on my hands. But anyway, out of those 8 books, I read some really good books. I'm talking about like books that I know for sure are going to be in my end of the year top, whatever stupid number I decide to make. I think last year I had like a top 13 or something like that. I don't know, whatever. It's going to be in my top reads. Like, I just can't imagine what I could read this year that could possibly knock these out of the top spots. But anyway, let's start off with number 1. This book, I read this book I started reading this book in December and I didn't finish it, so it kind of just slid on over to January. And that is going to be Age of Vice by Deepti Kapoor. First of all, I had no idea what this book was even about. The cover doesn't really give you much of anything. I was just thinking, like, I didn't read the synopsis. It's super thick. Like, this book has to be like, I want to say at least like 600 pages. I could be wrong, but it's definitely over 500. It's very thick. And I think at that time, I just kept saying that I wanted to just get immersed in the book. Like, I just kept having that feeling of just like, oh man, like I keep reading all this like trash towards the end of the year. Like, I just want to immerse myself in a book. Like, I just want to, you know, that feeling where you just feel like this book is taking over my life. Like, I had not had that feeling in a while, which sucks because, you know, I read a decent amount of books, more than the average person. So let's talk about this book, right? I was like, you know what? I'm just going to read page 1. I'm just going to see like what it's looking like. You know, I wasn't expecting too much because I didn't know, I hadn't read the synopsis. I didn't know what it was about, nothing. And I read the first page and I literally could not stop reading this book. The book literally starts off with, there's a terrible car crash, right? There's a terrible car crash. A Mercedes has pretty much mowed over like 3 to 5 people on a sidewalk. And when they find out who has been driving this vehicle, it is this guy named Ajay, right? And throughout the rest of this book, you start getting Ajay's story like immediately after, like, because it's kind of like a foreshadowing, basically, and it just tells you this is what's going to happen, and then it starts telling you Ajay's story and leading up to how he ended up in this damn car, because this is a Mercedes, right? A nice fancy Mercedes. And Ajay, when you're reading his story, he's very poor. Him and his family is very poor. So the entire time I'm like, how the hell did he end up in this Mercedes in this whole other area? This book is mostly set in this book is mostly set in New Delhi in India, and it was just great for me to, I don't read that many books that are set in Delhi. I don't read that many books that are set in India. So it was great to kind of, just read more about their culture and how they do things. I just learned so much by reading this book. We get Ajay's story, and then we get to another part of the story, the middle area, and that is going to be a woman named Netta, right? And Netta is a journalist in New Delhi as well, and we get her story. And then after we get Netta's story, we get someone named Sunny's story. And Sunny is part of this big crime family, okay? So in a nutshell, I would say that this book is Indian crime bosses. Like, if you are a big fan of like mafia families, like, this is it. Pretty much. This is pretty much it. You don't want to go against a family. Like, everyone knows that. If you watch the movie Casino, Goodfellas, The Godfather, whatever, like, everyone knows. And this is no different. Whether it be in India or Italy or wherever, like, it is the same rules. You don't want to go against a family, and Sunny has to end up learning at the hard way. We also see that we also see the connection between these three characters and why the book is in 3 parts pretty much. It's like the same series of events have happened for all 3 of these people, but we are getting it from each of their point of view, and it's not in a boring way. I've seen that done, and it's just been like, why are we getting the same story again? But no, the way this author does it is superb. Those author blurbs that be on the front of the covers, and it just be like mesmerizing, electric. And like, when I finished this book, my husband asked me like, how did I feel about it? And all I could think of was mesmerizing, electric. like literally, that is all I could. It blew my mind. Okay, now I will tell you that this book is going to be a series. First of all, I'm excited. And y'all know, I hate when people do that. I hate when the authors do that to us, because everything don't need to be a damn series. But I'm so happy. Please, can we have some more? Can we have some more, please? Like, of all of these characters. All of these characters, I just want to continue reading their stories and finding out, like, what is going to happen next. And I also am okay with the fact that it is a series because the author doesn't fully leave us hanging. There's a couple things hanging in the balance, but it is still a very satisfying ending. I promise you, it's still very satisfying when you get all 3 stories together and you start to piece everything together when you're trying to find out how the hell did Ajay end up in this car. And when you find out, you're gonna be like, yo, son, like that was wild. Like, how did we get here? How did we get here? So yes, please guys, pick this book up without hesitation. And the next dope book I read after Age of Vice was Lone Women by Victor Lavelle. Now, if you have been following this channel for a little while, you'll know that I am a big fan of Victor Lavelle. He is a black male author, and I have been wanting to read more books along the lines of The Changeling, which is my favorite Victor LaValle book. And I was dying for him to write more stories that are similar to The Changeling, because I'm a big fan of like dark fairy tales, and I love the fact that Victor LaValle writes dark fairy tales but with black people in it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just love it. I just feel like he just made his own like little lane. And I was just like, why can't we get more stories like this? So then when I found out that he was coming out with Lone Women, I was very, very excited. And when I tell you, I'm going to say that I enjoyed this book more than I enjoyed The Changeling. And I never thought I would say that. But this book right here, this book is just, if you're into horror, historical fiction, just those things kind of just mesh together, you are going to be loving this book. I loved every minute of this book. Like, I was savoring it. So this book is about a woman named Adelaide. This book is set in the year 1915, which is a year that we don't get a lot of when it comes to black historical fiction, and I really appreciated that. So most of this book is set in Montana. That's another thing that we don't typically get. Like, he really just went off and did his own thing here, and I am a fan. So it's set in 1915. We meet a woman named Adelaide. Well, she's a young woman, and at the very, very beginning of the book, we know that her parents are dead, and she is leaving the home that they have lived in for years. And she burns the house and she leaves. And when she leaves with a very big trunk, and she flees off to Montana. So if it is first set in California, and she leaves California with this big trunk to go off to Montana, because she has read in the newspaper that in Montana they are having this government program that says that if anyone can move to Montana and tame the land, allow it to grow, and, really just be like a homesteader, that they have to do this for 5 consecutive years. Then the home becomes theirs, the land is theirs, everything. And what's interesting is that it doesn't say that you have to be white. It says a person, right? So any person can come there and do that. And Adelaide sees that, and she's like, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. Because her family were homesteaders in California. They had the land. I forgot what they were growing, but they were growing something there. So she knows what she's doing. And she leaves with this big trunk. And the premise of the book is every time the trunk opens, someone disappears, right? This book is just so well done. Like, just so well done. And what I love about Victor LaValle is, and I'm going to tell you this, because I don't want anyone to go opening the book and be like, oh no, Kiona was lying, this book not doing what it's supposed to do. Victor LaValle takes his time with it, okay? He sets the scene. He sets everything up in place, so then when he hits you with a 1-2, you don't even see it coming. You're like, oh shoot, like, where did that even come from? You are in shock, because he just been chilling this whole book, just setting up the scene, but something is off. You don't know what it is, but you know that something is off. Something is coming. It's always like a looming threat in every book of his, and you just never know what it is. You just literally just read it and waiting for the other shoe to drop. And I I just love that feeling, that feeling of anticipation and waiting for it to happen, because you know it's happening. You know it's happening. The book is not horror for no reason. People are going to die, and they're going to die in a very gruesome way, and I love it. That's the type of shit that I like to read, and hopefully that's the type of stuff you like to read, and you would also enjoy this book as well. This book talks a lot about race, of course, because, you know, we have to. I think the parts that I really loved about this book was the sisterhood, that a very small group, a very small sisterhood that Adelaide was able to find in this book is just, I loved it. I loved it because Adelaide, in the beginning, you don't know whether you want to like her or not. At least for me, I was not sure if I wanted to like her or not. She had a very strange way about her, and I was just like, and what is up with this trunk? Like, what is up with this trunk? I had a whole lot of theories, and I promise you, I was freaking wrong. When we finally got to what was going on with the whole trunk situation, I was like, you got me, Victor. You got me, okay? Because I would have never seen that whole thing coming. This book is for people who really enjoy very adult, dark fairy tales. And that is the best way that I can kind of wrap up this book. Another book that I read this year that I enjoyed was Charge Into the Game by Nay. I'm not going to say too much about this book because I have a full spoiler-free review that I'm going to post somewhere up here or in the description box. But this book mostly follows a woman named Mahogany and her two friends, Tiffany and Moray. And Mahogany has just been given the reins to her father's drug empire. This is an urban fiction novel, by the way. Set in New York, so big ups for that. So Mahogany has just been given the reins to her father's drug empire. He has been wrongly accused of killing someone, so he's been locked up this entire time, and now she has the throne, and people don't want to see it. Okay, this book is really, I would say this book is a great setup for the rest of the series. Like, it's a lot of setup going on into this book. You know, some people may feel like it's not fully complete, but number 2 is coming out very soon, which is what I've been told. And I think when you put 1 and 2 together, it's probably going to feel way more complete. Because I definitely had a few questions when I finished book 1. But I think book 2 is going to answer a lot of those questions. What I did like about this book is that it is pretty fast paced. Like, things are happening. It's not very long, but things are definitely happening. I love the camaraderie. I love the sisterhood between these 3 friends. How they were really like down for each other, and they weren't afraid to get their hands dirty and put in work, you know, even though like they're women and, you know, oh, you're supposed to be, you know, feminine and whatever, they were still very much feminine, but they will shoot you if there's a problem, you know, if you feel like a threat to them. And I enjoyed that regarding this book, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more in book 2, because things are definitely happening and somebody is trying to get at Mahogany, and I am looking forward to seeing how that shakes out. There's also a romance in that book that I really enjoyed. I can't wait for the breakout novel for just that couple. That's gonna be fire. I already know. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed this book, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the rest of the series looks like. The next book I really enjoyed is Rootless by Crystal Zara Appiah. Guys, I really enjoyed this book so much. This is a book this is a book set in London mostly. There's also some parts in Africa as well. This book is about a married couple that they've pretty much known each other since they were in high school. They've pretty much been, they started off as really good friends and they ended up, getting together finally. You know what I mean? It was just one of those things where everybody was just kind of like, when is it gonna happen? Like, we know y'all like each other, and they finally got together, and it's like their life was great. You know what I mean? And it just really hit me here because I know personally, like, there's nothing better than marrying literally your best friend, but unfortunately this book kind of shows us that, unfortunately, like, this book really asks the question, is love always enough? Like, just because you love somebody deeply, does that mean y'all supposed to be together? Does that mean your spirits are aligned? Does that mean that you guys both want the same thing in the future? And sometimes it's not the case. Sometimes you just have to just say, I really love this person, but I don't think we're supposed to be together. Because somebody may end up unhappy. There may be some resentment. You don't know. And this book is just so raw. Like, if you're looking for a happy-go-lucky black romance, this is not it. Like, I'm going to tell you that right now. This is not that happy-go-lucky black romance. This is about a marriage in distress. Okay? This book, I was listening to this audiobook and I was at work. I had to walk away from my desk to go gather myself because this book just had me just so many feelings, like, and the writing is just so beautiful. The way Crystal was writing, like, I can't wait to see what else she comes up with. This is a debut novel and she killed this. Like, there's some people who may disagree with me, but I don't care what they talking about. This book is really good. And I think another thing too, and I always say this, your personal experiences are always going to affect how you read a book. If you've been through the shit that's going on in this book, you're gonna read it differently. If you know someone that has been through it, you're going to read it differently. Like, you're going to feel different about the book. It talks about, being a mother, how hard that is. It talks about postpartum depression, what that looks like. Like, we are really reading these raw feelings on this page. So if you're not ready for that, you probably don't want to pick this one up. But I genuinely, even though it ripped my heart out, I enjoyed this book so much. I really appreciated her writing this story in such a raw, real way, not sugarcoating anything. Like, this, I don't know if this is the author's life or whatever, because she hit it too hard. She hit it too hard and too real. Like, she must have taken somebody she know personally, their life, and turned it into a book, or this was her life and turned it into one or the other, because there's no way you can write a story like this and you don't know somebody that's personally been through this. So I personally really enjoyed this book, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what else she comes up with. The next book I really enjoyed is Wandering Souls by Cecil Penn. And I'm going to say this for everybody. I really enjoyed this. No, I really enjoyed this. I'm not like... It's rough to say that I enjoyed this because it's a lot of hard things in this book. It's a lot of things that are hard to read in this book, and I've just really accepted the fact that I enjoy reading books like that. I like reading books that make me feel something. If a book has me feeling dead inside while I'm reading it, what is even the point? You know what I mean? Like, I want to feel something. So this book is about 3 siblings who leave Vietnam. They're all young. It's an older sister and her 2 younger brothers. They leave Vietnam and they are traveling in the illegal way. They are traveling to seek refuge in the UK. The original plan was for them to go to the US where their uncle lives, right? And the rest of their family, their mom, their dad, their other siblings, they are supposed to follow them. That is the plan, right? To meet them at this spot, and then they all go as a family to the US to stay with the uncle, where it is safe and they can have a better life. Unfortunately, that is not what happens. That is not what happens. And what really happens is it's just so heart-wrenching what actually happens. And these siblings really have to, they're all they have. You know what I mean? They're all they have. These siblings do not end up going to the US. They actually end up going to the UK. That is not a spoiler. That is in the synopsis, by the way. They actually end up going to the UK. And when you find out the reason why they end up going to the UK instead of the US, it's like, damn, like it needed to be addressed. But sometimes, what I will say is that sometimes we let our pride get in the way of our blessings. But, at the end of the day, what will be, will be. So these 3 siblings have to go through so much trying to get to the UK. They go through so much, women are being sexually assaulted. They're trying to find shelter. They have to have food. The older sibling, the sister, I think her name is Anne. She has a lot on her, and she's young herself. Like, she's literally a teenager, and next thing you know, she has become the guardian to her 2 younger brothers. And it's like, yo, like, I didn't even sign up for this. But this is how it went. She didn't have a choice. This is her family. This is what she has. I'm sure she had her own aspirations and things that she wanted to do, but she literally ends up being the caretaker to her siblings. And I don't know, sometimes I was feeling like, y'all little ungrateful asses. Like, that's how I was feeling a couple times in the book. I'm not gonna lie, because I would have had to curse them out. Like, excuse me, I didn't even have a childhood because I was taking care of y'all. But it's not my story, so I'm gonna mind my business. But I was definitely judging, a couple times. But this book is written so well. The story. Like, I love a story that literally just goes from place to place, just the journey from Vietnam to getting to the UK, the people that they meet when they have to stay in these different places. These are characters in themselves as well. I just really enjoyed this book. There is also a ghost narrator in the book. I won't say who it is, but there is a ghost narrator in the book, and this ghost plays just has a pretty good perspective on things. And the ghost, even after a while, was just like judging situations that they shouldn't have been judging, because obviously there's nothing that they can do, but just kind of, I just feel like this book was about how our ancestors look out for us, if that makes sense. Yeah, because I believe that they do, and that, I think, is kind of what the ghosts, what their part was, and to also have an actual like outside perspective on what was going on with the siblings, because we pretty much get the older sister's point of view on things. This is a historical fiction, by the way, for the historical fiction girlies, because you know we have to keep we're in the historical fiction era. I feel like this is the best time to be reading it, because they know we loving it, because they keep coming out with them, and a lot of them are just so good. I may even need to do another historical fiction recommendation video, because I've been reading more of them and I've been enjoying them. So let me know if that's something that you would like. So that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't for more content like this. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.